So what even is quality in clothing? There's so many meaningless buzzwords out there, stuff like organic cotton, selfish denim, recycled polyester. I don't understand which any one of them is supposed to be good or which one is supposed to be bad. Polyester is supposed to be bad, but it's actually not bad, but wait, it actually is bad. Like, what the hell? What's even worse is that you can find low quality clothing everywhere, whether it's at a fast fashion store, a regular department store. You just cannot escape from this. Like, this all feels so meaningless and so impossible to figure out what is good quality and what is bad. What can we even do about this? Is the only solution just shopping for vintage and archive clothing? Like we're in some kind of barren nuclear wasteland and we're just digging through ancient artifacts for the only things of value? I think to get out of this hole, we need to take a step back, and instead of thinking about trying to define quality, let's look at only low quality clothing, or as I like to call them, clothing-shaped objects. So the term actually came from the biking community, and if you ever wanted to buy a bicycle, you'd have people warn you about BSOs. What are BSOs? Well, it's a bike-shaped object, and essentially a BSO is a really poorly made Walmart bike, made by the cheapest bidder and assembled by your minimum wage Walmart worker that does not care about tightening all the screws to the right specifications. It's going to be heavier than needed, it's going to be less durable, and it basically is not a bike. It's not a real bike, it's a bike-shaped object. It'll never hit the mountain. If it goes to the mountain, it's going to break apart, as many other YouTubers have demonstrated. And we have our own BSOs at home in the clothing industry. We have clothing-shaped objects. They're not really clothing, they're objects pretending to be clothing. Usually they're made in Southeast Asia in sweatshop conditions by abusing workers. And obviously the construction is not good. The fabrics are incredibly bad. What you get are workwear that will never be used to work, skiwear that will never be used to ski, and if you tried using these things for their intended uses, well, they just fall apart like these Walmart bikes fall apart on a trail. So what are some examples of CSOs? Well, we don't have to go any further than my own closet. I have to admit I own plenty of CSOs from when I didn't understand fashion. Let's take a look. So first off, for my personal hall of shame is this H&M shirt I bought back in 2018 for about $30. It's made from 100% cotton, which is good, right? However, if you take a look at this garment, which is striped, and you look at the inside of it, you'll realize the stripes aren't actually woven into the fabric like a good shirt would be. Instead, it just pretty much printed on like a graphics t-shirt. You can see how the black part of the stripes are kind of whitish on the inside, that's the ink not fully seeping through. So now if we go around to the inside of the sleeve cuffs, you can see that it's not the best. The buttonhole looks like it's having an aneurysm here, like what is this stitching? And then you look at the way the buttons are finished on the inside and it's so messy. So the next garment we have is a Uniqlo U button-down shirt from 2020. I bought this for $40 on sale, and it's also 100% cotton. If we take a look at the inside of it, you can see that the stripes are not printed on. They're woven into the fabric, and you can tell because the inside looks exactly the same as the outside. Now, if we do the same as the H&M shirt and we turn the cuff inside out, you can see immediately that the buttonhole finishing is so much cleaner. All the stitching looks way more neater, and on top of that, if you look very carefully at the way the sleeve is made, there's 3 tucks on the sleeve for the Uniqlo U versus 1 tuck for the H&M. Might not seem like a big deal, but it will make the sleeve look better fitted to the wrist. So for your information, I basically just ripped both of these shirts out of my closet. I didn't iron them, I didn't wash them right before, and I just slapped them on the ground. And you can already see how the Uniqlo U one just looks so much more dignified, like there's more structure. When I fiddle around with the collar, it doesn't wrinkle up, versus the H&M, which just looks like it looks shriveled. It looks like a used piece of toilet paper. That's not good. You don't want a shirt to look that way. Like, both shirts are made in China from 100% cotton, but that cotton isn't the same cotton. The H&M one is made from cotton poplin, which is the cheapest cotton fabric, and it's pretty thin and flimsy. Meanwhile, the Uniqlo U one is made from a basket weave. It's made from a proper Oxford fabric, and it has so much more weight and thickness to it. It feels much more real. Overall, the H&M one just feels so much cheaper. It doesn't feel like a real piece of clothing. It's a CSO, that's what it is. It's an object pretending to be a piece of clothing. Now, before we get excited and declare Uniqlo to be properly CSO free, they're the upholders of the standard of clothing or whatever, I have to tell you you'd be disappointed. Here's another piece of clothing from Uniqlo U from the same season actually. Here's a sweater. It's a sick fisherman knit sweater with this kind of melange wool. It has several colors blended into the yarn. If we look at the material tag on the inside, we can see that it's only 30% wool. Unfortunately, the rest is all synthetic. If we consider the proper context for a fisherman knit sweater, these were originally made in Ireland. And over there, because all the wool yarns were hand-spun, essentially the yarn was spun at home, you'd have all these different colors being spun into one yarn. This Uniqlo U piece is trying to copy that, even though it's not even made from 100% wool, even though it's a mass industrial product that doesn't need to have all these colors blended in. It's a fake. It's pretending to be an Irish fisherman knit. And honestly, in the grand scale of things, I don't even think my pieces of CSOs aren't even that bad. Like, there's so much more, even worse CSOs out there. Look at this video from Bernadette Banner, where she looks at a tailored jacket made by Shein versus a better one made by Vivienne Westwood. And there is such a big difference. Like, one is laughable. So now you might ask, what about this Sacai MA1? Is this also a piece of CSO? Because it'll never be taken on a plane, on a flight. And I don't think so, because Sacai isn't trying to reproduce 8MA1 perfectly. It's meant to be its own artistic statement, it's meant to show something new. That's its intention. I think the proper difference is that, while clothing can have different intentions, a CSO only has one intention: to be as cheap as possible. It only needs to be barely passable on a screen for a single photo. And I have to admit, identifying CSOs are not easy. It takes a lot of information and learning to be able to do so. And for that, I'll have to point you toward the Shift Fashion Group channel. They do a great job taking apart garments, and they're possibly my favorite CSO hunter channel. Well, why should I care? I mean, it looks good in the photo, and it looks close to another photo of an influencer that I like. So it's the same, right? Well, no, CSOs don't look good on you. And I'll say this again, CSOs do not look good on you. I mean, just look at my H&M shirt. It looks so dead, it looks so shriveled. It looks like a mummy out of an Egyptian pyramid. And that's because all these CSO brands spend so much effort doing their photo shoots to make sure their clothing looks absolutely perfect when they take that one photo. But in real life, when you move around, everything just falls apart and doesn't look the same. Here's an example. Here's a Zara leather jacket, and in the pictures, they look fine, right? They look pretty good. And here's an actual leather jacket from Zara from a second-hand site. And as you can see, it looks pretty dead. Well, why is that happening? Remember how the Zara leather jacket isn't actually made from real leather? It's made from fake leather, and I bet on that point, not even good fake leather. If it looks like sim plastic, that's because it actually is sim plastic. And I bet if you turn it inside out, you find the same kind of horrible stitching you find in my H&M shirt. And if you try to use this leather biker jacket on an actual motorcycle, I think you'll end up hurting yourself. Speaking of which, here's a skier jacket being shown on another CSO site, and they even have the galls to show it being modeled on a ski hill. However, if we take a closer look at this image, you can see that the shadows coming on the hill in the background is coming at a different direction than the shadows on the model's leg. I wonder what's going on here, huh? And if we zoom in at the goggles, like, what the hell is happening here? This is like a poorly rendered video game. Was the actual garment even involved here? Is this all AI generated? So I wouldn't trust the photos from CSO makers. CSOs simply do not look good on you, period. And we're not even getting into the fact how they fall apart easily, they lose their shape easily, they don't survive multiple washes, and that's not even getting into the whole ethics behind the manufacturing of CSOs. And all in all, I think the point of fashion is to convey an idea about yourself to the rest of the world. If you're wearing Western wear, you're like saying you're rugged, you're tough. If you're wearing tailoring, you're like saying you're classy and smart. Well, what idea about yourself are you conveying to the world if you're wearing CSOs? I think it's like wearing this pair of 𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗀 Fashion Air mics with 4 stripes. Oh geez, that sure sucks. Where do I go to find non-CSOs then? There might just be a video for that in the future, and if you're seeing it here already, then you're from the future. So yeah, don't wear CSOs, kids. That's it, thank you for watching, 𝗵𝗫𝗻𝗻 out.